Jim versus Neeb.
And here we go. We have Neeb, a North American Terran player who's currently living in New York, or at least in the New York area. And I'm not going to say New York State, because the New York State is pretty big. How cool would it be if Neeb was actually living in Rotterdam, New York? That's possible.
It is possible, Kev.
But I think he would have let me know, right?
And I think New York State is probably a little bit smaller than the Germany area, so.
I'm not too sure about that. Yeah, I mean, New York State is
It's
pretty
big.
damn big state.
But Germany's not small.
No, Germany's not small. I think it's...
What did we determine that Germany's about the size of Texas? Is
No,
that right?
Texas is... I
Like,
think...
it's like 2 Germanys?
Yeah, or maybe 3. Either way, Neeb is living in New York, and he is our blue Terrence player spawning on the left top side of Ekelund Waste. And he's going up against a man who's very near and dear to our heart. It is, of course, Invictus Gaming, Jim.
I have to find out how many Germanys fit in Texas.
I think it's 3.5. While Ben does that, I can talk a little bit about the openings and the way that the players got where they are right now. As Ben mentioned, Jim last season finished 6th place in WCS Season 2. The last series he played in WCS was against a Terran player as well, against Alive. He was able to defeat Alive 3-1, and that was, in my opinion, the most surprising victory that Jim made throughout the entire season.
Okay, so this says 20 times. That can't be right.
No, that is not correct.
Okay, so the internet is lying to us. Because that would make Texas about the size of Russia.
About the size of Europe, at least. Neeb, on the other hand, Ben, I mentioned before, he played lost against Minigun in a 2-1 series. I felt the first game he was kind of new playing against his Colossus Phoenix style. The second game was the game on Newkirk back then, where he played a lot better. He had a really good read on the strat. And if Jim does the same thing as Minigun does, I think it might actually get a little tricky for Jim. Certainly because, of course, you know, he is playing with a little bit of latency as well. Going up against someone who's living in New York, he should have perfect internet.
Yeah, I think Neeb certainly enjoys that latency advantage. If it comes down to a micro war, one would think that Neeb would be able to win that kind of a micro war. But Jim has demonstrated time and again, Kev, that he can control his units very well, regardless of latency.
Jim is perhaps a little bit like a Stefano, even though their personalities are polar opposites. Actually, I'm getting a little worried right now already, because this is giving me a small flashback. Jim is going to go quick Zealot, Chrono Boost on the Stalker, and also Chrono Boost on the Mothership Core. He's just going to run across the map. And against this opening that Neeb is doing, that's the exact same opening as I think Neeb was doing against Minigun on Belshire Vestige. And back then he lost almost immediately because he couldn't get his bunker up in time. Now I don't think that's going to happen again. But what Neeb wants to do right now is keep these units on this side of the map. Or at least, you know, soften his Zealot up a little bit. Because he needs that bunker to finish. Also because of the reactor on his racks, it takes a little while before the Marines spawn out. So he has to make sure that this bunker completes.
I think that bunker's going to be done in plenty of time, Kev. It's already halfway done. The Zealot, oh, great play with the Reaper blocking the expansion, so Neeb will stall Jim a little bit. A small advantage already to the North American Terran. Zealot, Stalker, and Mothership Core fast approaching. That bunker is going to be completed.
And with 2 Marines in it as well, so go getting your Marine. He can of course just avoid it, but with 2 additional Marines, 4 Marines, and pull a few SCVs, I think he is going to be fine. But this is still a little bit of a tricky position. Neeb has to be careful. If he does everything correct, he has nothing to worry about, but this could also escalate very quickly.
It sure could. Stalker and Zealot making their way up into the main base. Great job by Neeb. He has already responded perfectly. Stalker being actually microed quite poorly, and Jim is going to do basically no damage. Mothership Core even going to take a ton of damage, and Neeb has repelled this brilliantly.
Everything.
With, what, a single worker killed? Was that the scout that died?
I think he lost perhaps 1 SCV in this entire process, but this was perfect by a North American Terran player. Took absolutely 0 damage, made sure everything was on time, didn't pull the SCVs too early, but definitely put them on the right moment when he had 4 Marines out. He was able to fight that little army of Jim, and Jim making quite an investment in this early on, spending all the Chrono Boost on... Oops, sorry guys, that is all my bad. Forgive me for this terrible mistake.
It's okay, Kev.
Because I was using my hands too much, man.
Our hearts will go on, and so too will the game. Just a brief moment of delay as we have to...
I think it's just the excitement, because Neeb is doing everything right now. We can see that Jim is dropping the Stargate and the Robo, so he's going a little bit of everything. But in my opinion, the way that this has played out so far, if Neeb doesn't take like a crazy amount of damage from this Stargate opening, is it going to be an Oracle straight into Phoenix? No, it will be an Oracle.
First.
I think Neeb should have a really reasonable window in a certain phase of the game where his army is going to be way stronger than the army of Jim.
Let's also not forget that Neeb delayed that Nexus of Jim just a little, but it's just one more small thing going Neeb's way. A small contingent of Marines making their way across the map. It's about 8 Marines. They do not have stem, they do not have combat shields, no real upgrades to speak of, and there should be photon overcharge out.
I think he just wants to force a photon overcharge and then back off. I would like him to keep his units alive, and I think that's what he's going to do. He's going to lose 1 Marine over here. After that, he is going to back off.
Billy the bad luck Marine dies again.
Someone has to draw the short stick, man. Just like someone always has to pay for dinner.
Man, that is well said. And when you're having dinner with rotting meat, it's the guy that loses the coin flip.
24 army supply against 13. Right now we can see the additional gates going down. We can also see the Robo Bay going down. First Oracle is on his way. There are no missile turrets up yet, so Neeb, you have to... you're going to take a few losses here and there, but as long as he handles it properly, it shouldn't be the end of the world. He's definitely in a position where he can afford to lose a couple of SCVs without falling too far behind. 2
SCVs have fallen thus far. Still no missile turrets being built. That Oracle's taken a lot of damage just from Marines. So at the end of the day, Jim's going to repel this, or I'm sorry, Neeb's going to repel this once more with minimal damage taken. I think Neeb's playing great, Kev.
I think he's playing fantastic. This Oracle is trapped now as well. Only 4 HP remaining. Marines like, let me throw a rock. He's about to take out the ammunition off his gun and just throw it at the Oracle.
If you can throw a bullet farther than you can shoot it, then you've got serious problems.
You know, have you ever seen those weightlifters from the old Soviet Union? Man, those guys.
Tychus Finley could probably do it. Oracle's still pinned, and I guess Neeb's just going to leave a couple of units to make sure it stays that way.
You never watch the Olympics, do you, man?
I have never seen the bullet throw included.
Have you never seen the slingshot, right?
The shot put? No, or the hammer throw? Or the javelin toss? Do you watch the Olympics, Kev?
Oh, well, we call it different where I'm from. Viking pops though, and the Viking will be able to shut down this Oracle. So, as you pointed out, Ben, the Oracle didn't really do all that much. Let's take a look at the army supply right now. It's 41 against 32. Jim did have a worker lead throughout this entire game because he's been chrono boosting a lot. He even did save up a little bit of chrono boost eventually. He should be fine right now because he has a Colossus to rely on, but as you can see, his Phoenix production is probably a lot later than he would normally want. But he knows that Phoenixes are not what's going to keep him alive right now, but a Colossus is.
Good observer positioning means that Jim knows exactly what's coming. Well, that is a very lucky Marine. His name is not Billy. And there's going to be a photon overcharge. Bio units are going to stem forward, and Dan's going to try to pick off that Colossus. Neeb will lift up a few, and I guess he's just going to get out of there. So well done there by Jim, avoiding any real damage.
I would like to see Neeb wait for a few additional units, and then he can actually start poking in the front and send a medevac in the back, because there are really not that many units for Jim to deal with a drop, but he does have 3 Phoenixes, and you know, if they catch the medevac out in the open, they might be able to snipe it. Jim's still going up to 3 bases pretty quickly, despite the start of this game not really going that fantastic for him.
Yeah. Did a good job of defending with a minimal number of units, just 2 Colossi and a couple of sentries, really. I'm
not sure how I feel about this. Neeb is getting everything. He's getting a Ghost Academy and a second star point really early on. Now, in the game that he won against Minigun, when Minigun was trying to do what Jim is doing right now, we saw that he actually kind of hit a timing fighting without Ghosts. In the game that he lost, he had a crazy amount of Ghost Viking. Now, Ghosts are, of course, always a fantastic unit, and they can be really good, even against Zealots and stuff. But I do feel that you're able to max out a lot quicker if you're going for pure bio, and then a crazy amount of Vikings. Then you might be able to, you know, win that one fight, which is going to win you the game. But it seems like Neeb has a long-term strategy. Ekelon Waste is a really hard game to attack into a Protoss that's sitting on, or a hard map. Or attacking into a Protoss that's sitting on 3 bases, so perhaps that's why he's starting with the early Ghost production. Then again, he hasn't really seen the Phoenix production, so I kind of wonder.
Neeb continuing to do just circles, I guess, with this same group of units, and Jim's going to come forward with his Colossi and kill a lot of Marines. Neeb will lift up and get out of there, but not before having part of his army roasted.
Jim has still not seen the Phoenixes, correct?
Neeb?
Like he yeah, sorry, Neeb.
I don't think that he knows that Phoenixes are out, but at the same time, he has to know that this is how Jim plays.
But why do you think he's making these really quick ghosts then? Is he gonna just one ghost trying to EMP the sentries? Is that it?
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, he is making more than just a single ghost. He's got 2 out, but now he is back to just pure Marine Marauder production, so
And a crazy amount of Vikings. He's starting the air weapons. Does he have an upgrade already? No upgrades yet on the Vikings. You know, if this plays out the way that I think Neeb wants it to play out, just like have a lot of Vikings, then make sure that these two goals are able to land EMP on a couple of these sentries, and then he's able to just, you know, set his bio units in the beautiful arc/concave and somehow able to attack into Jim. That would be fantastic.
Well, we'll see.
He's pulling SCVs as well, so he's really going to go for it.
Wow.
These ghosts are here to land on those sentries, man.
That is their only purpose. There's the scan, so Neeb knows exactly where the army of Jim is set up. We see Jim hallucinating a couple of Colossi. Wow. Perfect force fields? Yes, indeed. And the Colossi are now going to be able to rain down on this combined force of Bio SCV. Vikings are doing an okay job here, but the Phoenixes are just phenomenal at absorbing damage and taking them out. But still, the army of Jim melts away, and Neeb might have too much.
It's all going to come down to these Marauders. Will they be able to connect with these Colossus? Look at SCVs trying to kill a Colossus, but I think that Jim will hold.
Quick, unscrew the kneecap, but the Colossus is going to stay alive, and Jim is barely going to hold. Neeb is still streaming across with what reinforcements he can muster, but it's not enough. GG. Neeb tap.